Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 255. Your weekly get-together, we talk about recent gaming news. I'm, as always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is...
I'm David.
Tonight, David, the Xbox Bethesda marriage is finally official, a new Switch model is rumored to be on the horizon, and Paragon is coming back. Kinda. But first, I want everyone here to know that this is an audience interactive podcast, so if you're watching here live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over at Twitch TV/GamePoints, or later over at YouTube.com/GamePointsPC, please feel free to join in the conversation. For either comments down below or over in the chat or anywhere else you can get your input in. I want to hear from you on the topics we are going to discuss. Just try to keep them germane to the conversation. David.
Yes.
Do you have anything you want to talk about that we played over the weekend, or should we just get right into the news?
I finally played some Dirt 5 and I don't really like it.
Nah, that is unfortunate. When was the last time you actually played a Dirt game, by the way?
It's been a minute, to be fair.
Okay.
I think it's because I've been playing too much Forza.
That's coming out to Steam, by the way. It's not the new release section, but I believe Forza Horizon 4 is coming out on its Steam release this week.
All right.
If you haven't picked it up yet, that's something. So let's just go ahead and move right into the news of the week. And let's start with the first topic. Speaking of Xbox, the marriage between Bethesda and Xbox, Microsoft, is now official.
The $1 billion.
The
Multiple
$1 billion
yes. Marriage.
It had to go through a couple hurdles. Both regulatory commissions in Europe and America had to approve it, and it sounds like they both did, prompting Phil Spencer to write the following blog. This is an exciting day for Xbox. Today we officially complete the acquisition of ZeniMax Media, parent company of Bethesda Softworks. It is an honor to welcome the eight incredibly talented development studios: Bethesda Game Studios, id Software, ZeniMax Online Studios, Arcane, Machine Games, Tango Gameworks, AlphaDog, and Roundhouse Studios, and their passionate global communities to the Xbox family. Now that everything is official, we can begin working together to deliver more great games to everyone. With the addition of the Bethesda creative teams, gamers should know that Xbox consoles, PC, and Game Pass will be the best place to experience new Bethesda games, including some new titles in the future that will be exclusive to Xbox and PC players.
There it is. That's the news we've been waiting for.
I wanted to mention that specifically because I think this is the first time we've got actual confirmation that some Bethesda games in the future will be Xbox and PC exclusive, not on PlayStation 4.
Which is something that we all kind of assumed, right? At some point, they were going to start keeping everything in-house. The games that have already been announced that are coming out to other platforms will likely still come out to other platforms.
Like, for example, Deathloop and what was the other game that they were working on? There's another game that was in the pipe for Bethesda Studios as well. But Deathloop specifically will have content that was exclusive on PlayStation. That will be still exclusive on PlayStation for a year. That's still happening because those deals were inked in place before the acquisition. Stealthy Twitchy, that's a little bit of a mic drop moment because he could be referring to stuff like Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6. Do you think those will be exclusive?
Elder Scrolls? No, I don't think so.
Okay, how about Starfield?
It's possible.
Are you in the camp that thinks Starfield might just get, they might do a Fallout 4 with it and just announce it officially in July with a release date of like September of this year?
No, I don't think Starfield's coming up.
Ever?
Sure, maybe. Starfield to me is a logo, so I don't give a shit about it.
The rumor I keep hearing about Starfield is that they will do something like they did with Fallout 4. Because remember, Fallout 4 was nothing. It was only just a logo and like a 10-second teaser until that E3 back a few years ago. I can't remember. I think it was like 2016.
Which I know we talked about. It's a really cool thing is, hey, there's this game, and then it suddenly comes out a couple months later. That's an awesome concept. Except, if you recall, Fallout 4 sucked.
I don't know if I would say sucked, but it definitely did not live up to the name, in my opinion. It felt more like Fallout 3.5, which at that point was already an old game.
No, I'm sorry, because we had a Fallout New Vegas, so it felt more like Fallout 2.9 HD Remix.
And let's not get all square with it here.
I'm just saying.
But I do keep hearing these rumors that Starfield, I don't think it's going to come out in 2021. I don't think it's coming out this year either. But the grumbling I'm hearing about that being a possibility is starting to get a little bit more credence as we get later in the year.
I mean, that's
And now
cool,
it's something
and
I
I'm
got to pay
hopeful for
attention
it.
to.
You know me, I like sci-fi games, but until I know anything about it, I'm not going to get excited, and I'm especially not going to get excited for any Bethesda properties anytime soon because they've lost all goodwill, in my opinion.
I don't think that Starfield would be exclusive either, because you know that they've been designing this game for years now, which
Mm-hmm.
means there's already a lot of work going into PlayStation consoles for it already.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a waste of time and effort to just go, those aren't coming out anymore.
Yeah, and with the Elder Scrolls thing, I don't think they would leave the money on the table of
Either
having it
way,
on everything because Skyrim plays on refrigerators. Why
right.
would the next game not run on everything?
Either way, this is both bad. This is all bad news for Sony,
Mm-hmm.
because you have two examples that can happen. One, the obvious example: Bethesda games are only on Xbox or PC. Sony players don't ever get them.
Yep.
Two, they are on PlayStation 5 for $70 each, or included for free with Games Pass. Which
Yeah,
one you gonna go with?
that's fair.
Uh,
That's a tough argument.
yeah. If you already own a PlayStation 5, then there you go. You already own a PlayStation 5. That's not going to convince you to buy a
But
PlayStation
at
5.
this point, it's very much in Sony's camp to start locking down and showing what they have with their studios or getting more
Yes.
studios. And they obviously like to focus more on in-house games or like in-studio games traditionally. But it's a weird year, so we obviously don't really
Yeah,
know a whole lot that's
it's
coming
going to
up.
be a very quiet year. It was a very quiet last year too,
Mhm.
as the COVID-19 started shutting down studios, making studios work from home, really slowing down progress, and
But
you
it's
can see
it's
that right
it's
now.
really tough because it's that first year of a new console, which is usually pretty important. The first 2 years are really when you kind of see your stride happen, and it's almost like we're working at a handicap.
I still say they should have delayed the consoles another year, but that ship has sailed,
Yeah,
because neither publisher, neither platform has really justified its cost yet. And I know that you can't find PlayStation 5s. I know they're all selling decently well, but there really isn't anything on either one of those two platforms that justify the cost of buying one of those things just yet.
yep.
Despite that, even if you can find them everywhere, I still would say there's nothing that buy that on there. Let's see. Stuffy Twitchy said in chat, says Sony could acquire From Software just before G.R. Morton game ships. That would be Elden Ring as a PS5 exclusive. Same thing about the Starfield conundrum there, though, Stuffy Twitchy. You've already designed it for other platforms. That would be a lot of work gone to waste. You would start games that you haven't been making multi-platform from there. Now, that said, hey, it either Sony or Microsoft would go, hey, we don't care if you've done all that work, throw it away. It wouldn't be the first time that a
Yeah, they
game's
just
had
have
a
to
lot of
they
work
have to
done
spend the
on it.
money.
Yeah. But it is eating a cost that might not necessarily equal the return that you're looking for. Additionally, while I don't think official platforms have been announced for Elder Scrolls or Starfield or even Elden Ring, it might have been for Elden Ring. I don't know yet, but there's still the expectation that would be put on all of them, even if they never officially said it was going to come to all of them.
Mm,
So you have
sure.
to fight that as well. But anything from here on out, from Bethesda, that expectation is no longer set.
Well,
So
there you go.
Doom 3, whatever Doom Eternal 2, the new Doom 3, whatever that will be, that might be Microsoft only. Whatever a new Wolfenstein might be, that might be Microsoft only. What if they ever go back to Dishonored from Arcane? That might be Microsoft only. That stuff might be Microsoft only from here on out. We'll see. Also, keep in mind, Microsoft specifically is very, very wishy-washy when it comes to the idea of exclusives.
Hmm.
They'll often say exclusive, and what they really mean is timed exclusive,
Yeah, that happens constantly.
because it's a way of playing word games to get you to have the FOMO, and then
Hey,
go
I
from there.
mean, and the funny part is if they keep this up with all their studio acquisitions and they keep putting everything on Game Pass, then it sort of starts to push the PlayStation out of the limelight with them eventually porting their games to PC.
Mhm.
Because now that gets us in the argument of, why did you have an Xbox One when anything you could have gotten on it you could play on your computer, and the only console that had something exclusive was the PlayStation.
I
We could
am. Good.
we could slowly see the opposite happen, but I don't think that Sony's going to put everything on PC.
No, I don't think so either. They will put their... Well, I don't know. I don't know. I was going to say something. I'm kind of backing off on it already.
I'm thinking it would be like the biggest budget games that have the most to recoup or the most chance to make a lot of money on PC.
There'll be big selling games that are no longer selling on the consoles because everyone bought it already.
Yep.
It'll be very much a play it by ear situation. I will say, regardless of what you feel about the exclusivity or not exclusive, if Bethesda's joining Microsoft is good or bad or not, I think we can all be excited that the Fallout license is also now back with the Obsidian and Exile guys. Like Bethesda, Obsidian, and Exile, those three teams working on a potential brand new Fallout 5, that has me excited for that franchise in a way that I haven't been excited for in a while.
That's cool, but officially I don't like this.
Okay.
For the record.
Why is that?
Because I don't want 3 game companies to own every game company. I think that's stupid.
All right. I don't think we're in I don't think we're in the Disney owns your childhood phase of this yet. If EA or Activision or Ubisoft or Take-Two gets gobbled up by one of these guys, then I'll start getting a little bit more concerned. But I understand where you're coming from on this. But I do think that Bethesda over the past few years has repeatedly dropped the ball, except for id. And I think they need someone above them to kind of whoop their ass into shape a little bit. And I think Microsoft might be able to do that, but we'll see how that shakes out.
Yep, that's fair.
David, why don't you go ahead and lead us on to the next topic here?
And the next story from Bloomberg. This is something that we're continually talking about. The Nintendo plans a new Switch model with a bigger Samsung OLED display. Nintendo company plans to unveil a model of its Switch gaming console equipped with a bigger Samsung OLED later this year, hoping the larger touchscreen can prop up demand in time for the holidays, people familiar with the plan said, which is a completely ridiculous statement considering the Switch sold like hotcakes for the entirety of this like quarantine-fueled pandemic.
Yeah, you don't need to prop up demand for something that's already in high demand.
Yep. Anyway, Samsung Display Company will start mass production of the 7-inch 720p resolution OLED panels as early as June, with an initial monthly target of just under 1 million units.
That's a very limited run, by the way, when you have the number compared to the number of Switches out there right now.
Right, and the people asked to be not identified discussing these matters, so we don't have any names. The displays are slated for shipment to assemblers around July. Representatives for Nintendo and Samsung Display declined to comment. In a quote, the OLED panel will consume less battery, offer higher contrast, and possibly faster response time when compared to the Switch's liquid crystal display, says Yashiro Tamura, co-founder of display consultancy DSCC.
Keep in mind, that is just a speculation quote.
Fun fact, the PS Vita originally shipped with an OLED display, and it's why it's one of the best handhelds still.
Do you know that thing's going up in extreme value on the secondhand markets, right?
I'm really
Vitas are getting harder and harder to find, and the price is going up.
Which is a bummer.
I wish I bought one when they were.
They never made the memory cards cheaper, so fuck them.
Yeah, true.
Just make a Vita 2 already, Sony, you bastards.
For comparison's sake, by the way, the current Switch has a 6.2-inch display.
Yes.
So this would also be a bigger screen on the Switch unit itself.
Continuing in the article, Nintendo decided to go with a rigid OLED panel for the new model. People said a cheaper but less flexible alternative to the type commonly used for high-end smartphones. The latest model will also come in 4K ultra-high-definition graphics when paired with TVs. That could intensify a long-standing complaint of developers who have struggled with the difference in resolution between handheld and TV modes, and now face an even bigger gap between the two.
Is this something you care about at all? Would you buy a 4K Switch, or are you happy with what you have?
Why would I buy a 4K Switch? Because any game that's pumping 4K on a Switch is running at 12 FPS.
You'd have to assume, right, that they would fix that problem.
I really doubt it, sincerely.
You know, we do live in the age of cyberpunk. You're probably wise on that.
Yeah, do not sell me a 4K Switch, because that's a garbage product. A better screen for handheld mode? That's actually interesting.
Yeah, it is going to be bigger. The screen itself is going to be bigger.
Instead of giving me 4K, give me just 60 FPS solid in handheld and in big screen. And I know a bunch of people don't care about that, but I do. So
Yeah, I
that's
do.
what will sell me something.
I'm at the point now where I would have higher frame rate than higher resolution at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how I feel at this point.
But I like to play like platformers and Metroidvanias and such on the Switch, so I just want frame rate. I don't really care about anything else.
You know what I think a lot of that too is that we're both PC gamers, so we've just like expected 60 to be the standard. But on consoles, that's still really not the standard. It's just now starting to become the standard.
Dude, even with the next box and PS5, we don't have 4K 60, which was what all the advertisements were saying before either of those consoles released. Every single next gen game, quote unquote, is 4K or 60 FPS.
Yes.
None of them are both.
Still waiting on my 60 frames per second Bloodborne, Sony. Still waiting for
Good luck.
I do think that's coming, by the way. I honestly think that Bloodborne is coming to the PC, and they're going to give it the Days Gone treatment. They just don't want to announce it right now, because that announcement is worthy enough to be included in an actual segment on a PlayStation State of Play, whatever their big E3.
That's true, but that's also an assumption that people have been making since about 2 months after the game released on PS4 in the first place.
I don't remember them making it 2 months after release, but I see. Your point is taken. I do understand it. I get it. But this is one of those where there's smoke, there's fire kind of things. But I'll also say, too, if it just never comes out, I would not be surprised.
Yep, we'll see.
David, got a bit of bad news as we move on to the next story. I just found out about this through you a couple hours ago, though apparently it happened yesterday. V1 Interactive is officially closing. These are guys that made that game Disintegration, which I never played, but you do seem to know a little bit about.
I mean, it was a neat concept because it's like a first-person shooter mixed with an RTS. That's the one where you're playing is like the little guy on like a skiff, like hover bike, and you're flying around and you're giving commands to different troops.
That description makes me think of an old Xbox game called Battle Engine Aquila, if you recall what that was at all. I remember really liking it, so now I do have to take a look at this game, but fortunately it seems that the studio who's making it is out. From a tweet they sent yesterday, we are sad to inform you that V1 Interactive is officially closing. We want to thank all the talented people at V1, both past and present, who helped make the last 5 years wonderful. And a heartfelt thanks to the amazing community that supported us. This is not layoffs. The entire studio is shutting down. So anyone who was working at V1 has just lost their job.
Now, here's the crazy part, though, that they've announced that they're closing. They are not just shutting their door immediately. The staff is still getting paid for like the next month or two.
Okay.
And everyone internally was aware of this before the announcement came out.
That is unfortunately unusual when it should be the goddamn norm.
Right?
Because how many times... I don't even have to say you have to pay your people like for another month just to keep working on something that exists, but the whole idea of people finding out they've been fired because of a leaked press release...
Right? Or Telltale just showing up to a locked building.
Yeah. Hey there, Salty Frank. Welcome to the show. Appreciate having you in chat. Good to see you again.
Oh, Lawbreakers.
Yeah, similar to Cliffy B's Lawbreakers, that was Boss Key Studios, but it wasn't Lawbreakers that killed that studio. That was their attempt at the Battle Royale game Radical Heights.
I legitimately liked Lawbreakers. I thought that game was a lot of fun.
Lawbreakers was a fun game that came out at the absolute wrong time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because hero shooter fatigue was very much set in by that point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people don't even... I don't want to say Overwatch is dead or anything like that, but that is probably...
I'd play Lawbreakers now.
Would you say that Overwatch is probably the king of the hero shooter currently right now? Maybe Rainbow Six to a degree, but I don't consider Rainbow Six necessarily a hero shooter. And even then, it's not like those are really moving the industry forward anymore.
Mm.
So Lawbreakers just had unfortunate timing. Let's move on to the next story here. Oh, but first, hold on. Salty Frank in chat says, a game studio is shutting down but giving actual warning to their employees. That's a first. Yeah, that's exactly what the point. Yeah, that's exactly it, Salty Frank. We've reported on enough of these horrible situations where you've just learned that the game industry, when it comes to workplace issues, just fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Next story here from GamesIndustry.biz. Zynga acquires Echtra Games.
I don't even know Zynga was still around, honestly.
You're not necessarily alone on that boat because they kind of hit their peak. Zynga, by the way, for those of you who don't know, was that company that made like Farmville. I think they made Words of Friends. Games. Yeah, all those Facebook mobile games.
All those Facebook games were made by Zynga.
Today they announced that it's acquired Torchlight 3 developer Echtra Games. Terms of the deal was not disclosed. Founded in 2016, the San Francisco-based Echtra Games has shipped just one game to date, and that would be Torchlight. However, Zynga's statement made clear the company's interest was bolstered by the pedigree of developers from Echtra founder Max Schaefer, who had worked on the first 2 Diablo games and all 3 Torchlight titles. Quote, Max and his team at Echtra Games are responsible for some of the most legendary game properties ever created, and they are experts in the action RPG genre and cross-platform development, end quote, said Zynga CEO Frank Gibao. Frank Gibao, by the way, used to work at EA. He was head of EA Games' mobile division for a long time. He was heading up that EA Partners. I think it was EA Partner. Maybe not EA Partners. He was...
that little indie offshoot thing they were working on?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was. But he has been with EA for 20 years. He eventually kind of left abruptly when EA had a bunch of high-end staff turnover, and he ended up becoming the CEO of Zynga. Gabro ended up adding, this acquisition will be instrumental in growing our iconic licenses of brands from mobile to PC and consoles, while helping further expand Zynga's total addressable market. And that's why this story is being included in here, David, is that quote right there. Zynga is going to expand from mobile to PC and consoles. To begin with, Echtra will be collaborating with a new Zynga studio, Natural Motion, on a, quote, new and yet-to-be-announced RPG for cross-platform play. Zynga president of publishing, Bernard Kim, told GameStop.biz last month that the company was planning on continuing its streak of acquisitions after finding success in recent years, adding developers like Graham Games, Small Giant, Peak Games, and Rollic. David, we're about to see that Farmville model come crashing even harder into console in the PC space. Now, it's already been kind of leaning that way over the past few years as it is, but the man who introduced the idea, who worked at the company that introduced the idea of the loot box, Frank Gibbo, now runs Zynga, and they're bringing it all to consoles. How do you feel about that?
I just don't need to play their games. Sorry,
right.
Torchlight 4.
It is so hard to get a rise out of you sometimes. I kind of, because I kind of feel that way too, but sometimes I do like to try to bring some righteous fury down, just, add some spice to it. But when I try to do it to you, just go, I'm just not going to play.
It's, there's some things that get me mad, but there's some things that are just so blatantly obvious that I'm I can't even get mad about it because of course this is happening. Why wouldn't this happen?
Yeah. Salty Frank said it best here. It sounds like we're going to get a microtransaction-filled cross-platform ARPG, like, say, Torchlight Undying, if you're going to take the Diablo 4 Immortal stance and go with it. He's calling that name right now. I wouldn't be surprised if it was called something along those lines. That's exactly what this is going to be. They're saying it right now. It is going to be a Diablo-esque action RPG filled to the brim with microtransactions,
with pay-to-win mechanics and convenience transactions and all the other crap that you can expect from any kind of mobile title.
Yeah, I could be wrong on this.
It'll also probably launch on Switch.
Yeah, I could be wrong on this.
Mobile games go now.
But I believe Frank Gibel was the head of EA Mobile when they released Dungeon Keeper Mobile.
Oh, okay.
So
good to know.
I have absolutely zero interest in this, which sucks because I liked Torchlight 1 and Torchlight 2. Torchlight 3 was kind of rough from what I understand.
No, you should play Torchlight 3.
I should play Torchlight 3.
Yeah, Torchlight 3 is much better than when we originally tried it when it was doing the MMO thing.
Torchlight Worlds or whatever it was called.
Yeah, they pivoted. It's like a full game. It's just in the universe. It's got a lot of T2 vibes. So
okay. Hey there, Imperial Developer. Good to have you in chat, by the way.
If you like the second one.
Okay, I might have to take a look at it. I technically own it because they gave me the access to Torchlight Worlds as a stream this for a couple hours kind of thing, but I just could not get into it.
I'm sure it's better than whatever we're gonna get for Torchlight 4. So
yeah, we'll see. You want to talk about a series of names that was just anti-hype to me? I was like, okay, Zynga, who cares? Frankie, okay, who cares? Microtransaction filled action RPG, who cares? I can wait till Diablo 4 if I want that.
Well, let's talk about something that obviously you're going to be way more excited for, huh? Huh?
Yeah.
You love talking about hero shooters, right?
Yeah, I do.
In a story from VentureBeat, Omeda has raised $2.2 million to relaunch Epic's dead Paragon as Predecessor.
Joking
So,
aside, I actually am kind of excited about this, and I'll go into my reasoning later.
okay, so for those who don't know, there was a point in time where Epic had a game called Paragon, which was a hero shooter, third person, multiplayer online battle arena game, and a bunch of people liked it, but then it got shut down. One of the things they did was they released all of the material, assets, sounds, skins, characters, everything as just raw assets for the Unreal Engine. And so Omeda is one of the studios that's been trying to resurrect Paragon. Fun fact, though, there was actually two separate companies trying to do it at the same time, and it seems like these guys are beating it's MetaBuff, who's working on a game called Core, to the punch. But both of them were doing the exact same thing, using all those assets and trying to recreate Paragon. So
Okay.
that's fun. Paragon was Epic's attempt to join the mobile market, and Riot Games' League of Legends helped create. Never succeeded in pulling players from that or Overwatch or really anything. Epic canceled it in January of 2018. One of the people who was devastated by Paragon's cancellation was streamer Robbie Singh, an influencer, had a following of 50,000 people who watched his streams about Paragon. After Epic shut down the game, they decided to make assets of Paragon available, like I mentioned. Singh decided to rally his community and form a team to pick up where Epic left off. He started the company in January of 2020 with Andrea Garella and Stephen Melier. Omeda Studios was born and went to work on Predecessor. The team has 12 people, and it received an Epic Games Mega Grant to work on the game. It is staged an alpha test and expects to ship an early access version this year and a finished game next year. I'm pretty certain you can find this in an early access form on Steam, but it's entirely possible that I'm thinking about the game that the other studio made, because like I mentioned, two different companies trying to remake Paragon. Asked why Omeda can succeed where Epic didn't, Singh said he believed that Paragon simply didn't get a real opportunity because Epic had to follow the success of Fortnite.
I love this story.
Which I guess is possible, right? They really pulled focus. They dumped everything into Fortnite. Paragon is a hero style shooter or MOBA game that wasn't really pulling in the money. So why would they keep pumping development?
Do I put my resources into Fortnite money or a game that might be good but only can make me a couple $1 million?
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
And I'm excited because I like seeing games come back from the dead, especially if it's got a following and a bunch of people want to play it.
Let me tell you why I love this story so much, because I can care less about Paragon as a game. I can barely remember it. What I love about this is it was a guy who was a fan of it, loved this game, rallied, it was influential enough to have a big enough fan base to kind of help him get this company going. Epic, who's just like, yeah, with this game, we're not going to make it anymore, but fuck it, have all the assets for free on it.
That's still my favorite part,
yeah.
Is that they just gave away everything from the game.
Is letting him essentially make Paragon again, just without the Paragon name, because that's probably copyrighted, using the same assets from it, and gave him a grant to do it.
Yeah, that's the most ridiculous part. Epic is paying somebody else to resurrect their game.
Yes. That is... I want this game to succeed because of the story around it, not so much because I'm going to play this game ever.
Mm-hmm.
I love all the vibes in this story. I absolutely love it, and I hope that Robbie Singh is successful in his attempt at rebooting this game.
I'm still curious, though, on what this means for the other team and whether or not they're still working on it, or maybe they're getting absorbed and they're going to be all hands on deck, because I think that would be their best bet, right?
If the assets have been so here's where it gets a little unusual. If the assets have been sent out for free, well, no, because you signed the Epic license when you use those assets. So, never mind. Unless they're changing them just enough to be distinct from each other.
Maybe. Because, yeah, once this game gets properly, published, if Epic puts their stamp of approval on it, I feel like that kills the other game automatically.
But if the assets are being given away for freely... Yeah. Then they have you see where I'm coming from? I just don't know. It's
very strange.
I don't know because I didn't know about this other team until you mentioned it.
Yeah, I just think it would be in their best bet to see if they can all just team up and make super mega Paragon successor game.
Yeah, I mean we've seen it happen before with Toys for Bob and Stardock. This can happen.
Yeah,
you guys can join forces and make some great games together, of which none have materialized yet. Get on it, Mr. Wardell. I know you watched the show. So, let us know what you think about Paragon, or Predecessors, as it's now called, coming back soon enough. Let's turn to chat real quick. Salty Frank's asking, is the game being made in Unreal? Because if not, that would make this even funnier. I'd imagine it would have to be made in Unreal, right? Because they're epic assets.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
I'd imagine it had to be. Next story via Games Industry. GameStop establishes committee to help transform it into a technology business. We're going to get into some stonks here, David, so try to not fall asleep on me. I know.
I will do my very best.
Video game retailer GameStop has announced that its board of directors have formed a new committee to identify ways it can further accelerate the company's transformation. The Strategic Planning and Capital Allocation Committee is made up of former Chewy executives Alan Attell and Ryan Cohen, as well as Kurt Wolff. Wolff was elected to the board of directors by shareholders last year against recommendations of the company itself, while Attell and Cohen were added to the board in January. So, a little bit of backstory here, because this article doesn't get into it. GameStop, the board of GameStop, the higher executive there's like a war going on between them. You have a lot of the old retail people fighting Ryan Cohen, who literally bought 12% of the company just out of pocket.
Yep.
And he's bringing in his own people, and they're fighting each other. This recently had the effect of their CFO, Jim Bell, getting shit canned. The original statement was, hey, he is moving on to bigger and better things. And Ryan Cohen, I believe, just came out and said, no, we fired his ass because he's incompetent. So there's the Ryan Cohen faction, who is younger than either one of us, I believe. I think he's like 32. Who made his name off of Chewy.com and literally just one day decided he's going to buy 10% of GameStop. And then there's this old guard of people who have like a very brick and mortar retail side of things. And Ryan Cohen is very upset that GameStop is not taking advantage of their recent financial upwinds, as it were, as the Reddit boys are pumping their stock and quickly transitioning into a digital format. That's kind of what's going on in the background here. Back to the article itself. The committee has already taken steps toward its new direction, including the appointing of the new CTO, Matt Francis, hiring 2 additional executives, and commencing a search for a new CFO following the pending departure of former CFO Jim Bell. The committee will continue to focus on identifying actions that can transform GameStop into a technology business and help create enduring value for stockholders, the company said in a press release. GameStop says it will also evaluate its current operational objectives, capital structure, allocation priorities, digital capabilities, organizational footprint, and personnel. And that is the part of the story I wanted to bring in. Because whenever a company says they're going to reevaluate organizational footprint and personnel, that means expect half of the stores to disappear by the end of the year, meaning I get my prediction right.
They already shut down a ton of stores, though, at the end
There are
of
going to be more.
All right.
I believe my prediction was only a third of the original total will survive by the end of this year.
That's fair. We'll see.
Renewed focus on transforming GameStop as a business comes in the wake of a surge in sales earlier this year as part of a short squeeze February, blah, 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 blah. GameStop saw a second spike at the end of February, currently sits at 185 at time of this writing. It's actually at 260 right now, and that was only a few hours ago when this article was written.
And yes, Big Dog Food absolutely came in and bought majority of GameStop to turn it to an internet-based store.
Because that's what Chewy was.
The most ridiculous quote from the entirety of this press release when Cohen was brought on, they mentioned that they're going to turn GameStop into the Amazon of gaming, which was the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Because Amazon already has a gaming department.
Because Amazon is the Amazon of gaming.
Here's the thing, though. GameStop can absolutely do better on their online storefront. I was thinking that GameStop just needs to get rid of taking in used games and just go like an eBay model with it. You put your own shit up for sale on our site and we take a small cut of it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I think that's something that GameStop should do. By the way, Ryan Cohen, if you're listening, and I know you are, that's my idea. 5%. All of it.
You just have to sponsor the show. And we'll talk about GameStop all the time. Constantly.
Yeah, so I think
this podcast is brought to you by EB Games.
Please. Funko Land.
I'm
Actually, I'm 40. Babbage's.
Oh. I like FYE.
I think that they're on a personal level, I find this weird war between the young blood that kind of came into GameStop and the old guard to be just fascinating how it's playing out in public, because you rarely see a company infight like this, to the point where GameStop, when Ryan Cohen was trying to put his own people to place, the GameStop board itself said, this is a bad idea, vote against it. And the shareholders told the GameStop board, fuck off, we're putting these people in place.
Yep.
You don't see this kind of dirt happening in air too often. I found it just fascinating to watch.
Dude, they let people into a company, like regular people, and now it's being run by committee, and so I have just nothing but high hopes for that. to the moon, gentlemen, to the moon.
I do think that GameStop's future lies in a digital-only online experience. I get what they were trying to do with these weird boutique stores, but honestly, that would have worked 10 years ago. But it's not going to work today, where you have, like, the LAN center. You can have a couple physical stores of retro stuff in weird single locations, but I think that their online capabilities are a goddamn joke. And if there's anyone who knows to revitalize a company from an online perspective, it is the motherfucker who was able to sell dog food on the internet and make billions of dollars off of it.
That's true.
So he knows what he's doing. In my opinion, this is not financial advice. Do not listen to me. Don't go spend your entire life savings on fucking GME just because it shot up to 280 again or 260, wherever it's at right now.
Yeah, you're supposed to wait for the dip, obviously.
Yeah, no. Buy high, sell low.
That's not how you do any of that.
So yes, expect an even more how I am reading this though, David, is expect even a more aggressive schedule of people getting fired, of stores being closed, and of GameStop just disappearing.
And even more exclusive collector's editions.
No, I don't think that's going to be the case. But I'm serious. I do honestly believe they might put up something that's just like, hey, we are the eBay of video games. Sell your shit, we take a cut.
Yeah,
and I think that would be smarter than whatever trade-in bonus they have going on right now. And then they can do things like also sell new games and everything through their site too. And you'll have it day and date of release. We'll see how it shakes out. I think that part of getting Reggie on the board is going to really help. Because remember, Reggie's I don't think he's on the board, but I think he's like in an advisory center.
He's somewhere up there.
He has the connections to go back out to the other big publishers, not just Nintendo, but Sony and Microsoft, and go, hey, can you get these guys the games in on time if they can give you certain guarantees that's not
I got it. I know what they need to do.
Street date.
Switch 2, released exclusively at GameStop.
No, there's no way in hell that's going to happen. But what they can do, though, is hopefully make some agreements where they can get games delivered to your door on release day, like Amazon can. But GameStop has some issues doing that sometimes still.
Or even into the store on release day.
Just some things like that. And that's... The side story is, I think this is going to help me get my prediction right, but the actual story here is, one, the weird open infighting, and two, you're going to see a lot of people lose their jobs at GameStop even faster than this opinion. That GameStop is already going to be closing stores. They're going to close them down even faster because Ryan's cohort definitely won this fight.
All right.
David, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here.
This next story is from Steam. That's where it's from. That's where you can read it. The Steam website. Hey, I know this is going to bum you out because I know how much you love card games. But Artifact, the Dota 2 card game that released to just such epic fanfare. You remember how excited everyone in the crowd was when they finally showed off Artifact?
I actually forgot this game existed. That's how little I cared about it.
This is the game that when they showed the reveal trailer and it said a Dota 2 card game, the audience went, oh, in unison.
That's right. That did happen.
You remember that video on the internet?
Yes.
Anyway, Artifact shipped in November of 2018. Despite good initial sales, our player count fell off pretty dramatically. This is all in the press release from Valve. This warranted a shift from the service update development model we'd planned to a full reevaluation of the game's mechanics and economy.
Essentially Anthem Next.
It's now been about a year and a half since the current Artifact team began work on a reboot in earnest. Wow, it really is Anthem Next. While we're reasonably satisfied we've accomplished most of our game side goals, we haven't managed to get the active player numbers to a level that justifies further development at this time. As such, we've made the tough decision to stop development on the Artifact 2.0 beta.
Essentially Anthem Next.
Or Anthem 2.0. Anyway, however, we recognize that both versions of Artifact still have players and still have value to the community. For this reason, we're opening both games up to make them available for free to everyone. Final releases of both Artifact Classic and Artifact 2.0 Beta, renamed Artifact Foundry, are now available. So if you want the free versions of either version of Artifact, you can now get those in your Steam library for no dollars.
I would say essentially Anthem Next again, but I don't know if they're actually giving Anthem away for free or if they're still charging for that goddamn game.
Are the servers even on?
I think the servers are still up for Anthem, and I think they will be up for a while.
Gotcha.
But I don't know if you have to pay to play it or if it's just 100% free now.
Yeah, in other news, their reviews have spiked heavily to the negative.
Yeah, I'd imagine people are pissed because people were spending money on it. Stuffy Twitchy says free equals abandon. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I get the sentiment it's coming from.
Reading some of the quick reviews on Steam, I saw some that say free to play, still pay to win.
No shit, you can still buy cards and stuff on there. They haven't turned any of that off.
Yep, looks like that's all still on.
Ooh, fuck that! I did know that. That is fucked up.
All right. I said, their reviews. If you look at how they have the recent history since this release, it's just straight down.
I will always maintain that at its core, review bombing is not only good, but it's one of the few ways the consumer can make their voice heard in a sea of propaganda.
Well, David, there you go.
We got a couple of good stories coming up. I think these are both great. I'll take the first one. You take the second one.
Okay.
First one here. Square Enix enlists Forever Entertainment to create more remakes. This is via Game Rant. The Polish video game publisher Forever Entertainment SA is familiar with video game remakes. One of its latest releases was the Panzer Dragoon remake from last year, and the publisher will be releasing Panzer Dragoon 2 Zwei remake later this year. While the publisher released other video games, it will be making some more remakes soon. Recently, Square Enix Japan made a deal with Forever Entertainment SA to remake multiple games for the company. Though there's no exact number of how many remakes there'll be, Square Enix is licensing one of its gaming intellectual properties to the publisher to remake, but the IP's identity has not yet been shared. Forever Entertainment has experience making video game remakes, Game Rant. I have said the term remake like 7 times already.
Right? Learn to copyright.
Back to the article. Forever Entertainment has experience making video game remakes, including Panzer Dragoon remakes, and the planned future remakes for the House of the Dead and its sequel House of the Dead 2. As part of the deal, the game remakes will maintain the original core gameplay and have magical graphical upgrades. As one expect, Forever Entertainment will be creating the remakes and earning a share of the profits from them. Reportedly, the publisher will earn more than 50% of the revenue generated from the remakes on all game platforms when they're released. However, the studio will have to front development costs on its own. So,
the development costs for what, though?
The remakes. So this is a sweetheart deal for Square, because it's like, yeah, you get to remake the game. It's going to be the same game. You're going to spend all the money on development costs, and we get to recoup 50% of what you sell. That's a sweetheart deal for Square. However, from what I understand, do not expect like rebuilt ports of the phone versions of Final Fantasy or Chrono Trigger. No.
They're not getting the big franchises. They're getting the smaller stuff.
Yeah, think they're more forgotten games, and that's actually what I'm more excited for, because it's going to be shit like Parasite Eve, Star Ocean, and heaven forbid they remake Front Mission.
Oh my god, I'd be so excited for Front Mission. And we've already talked about several times on the show that I like Parasite Eve, even though a bunch of people don't. That's fine.
I love the first one. The first one is great, hands down. The other one's not so much.
Yo, how about a remake of Threads of Fate?
That's definitely on the list. Like, think your smaller Square franchises that were, I would say, PlayStation 1 and earlier.
How about a remake of Vagrant Story?
I would love that too. Hell, a remake of Final Fantasy Tactics. Let's keep it like even more like basic.
No, because they most likely won't give these guys the Octopath engine, and if I don't get it in that engine, then I don't think I want it.
Additionally, Final Fantasy Tactics is still a game that they're actively selling right now. These would be older games, like the War of the Lions is what they've repackaged that as. These would be, once again, the Parasite Eve, Star Ocean, Front Mission. Or that you can but have not received any of the quote-unquote love the other catalog of Square's games have gotten.
Oh, man. You guys, please re-release Einhander.
Einhander's off the list, especially given their Panzer Dragoon pedigree.
Right? Let's go.
That could be interesting. So yeah, think of shit like that. That's what I would expect from this. I'm really excited for it because as much as I love Final Fantasy, as much as I love Chrono Trigger, Square and Enix have a catalog that stretches back decades at this point of games that we have all forgotten about.
That's true.
And I want to see this come back. I would love to see Star Ocean 1 and 2 get a good remake treatment. I would love this. Front Mission is the one I want more than any of them. And I figure that'd also be one of the easier ones to remake.
Oh, dude, I just thought of the best one. It tops everything on the list. Can't be beaten.
What's that?
Give it online co-op.
Air Guys?
The Bouncer.
Bouncer. I am convinced it will be PlayStation 1 and earlier. Because that is what is in most need of remake, specifically that PlayStation 1 generation.
Dude, what do you got against Cyan Barzard and Colefo?
I don't even know who those people are.
And Volt Kruger.
Okay, Volt Kruger, I remember that name and just thinking as that. At the time, I thought that was the zenith of Square names, and then we started getting shit like Cloud Strife and or that was before then. But we had like Roxas and Zemnis and just all this other shit.
And none of them can touch Duragon C. Mikado.
Well, because Duragon C. Mikado doesn't exist, David. Which implies the other ones do, but we'll digress on that point.
Yep. Oh, man.
All right. We have one more story here. By the way, I do want to mention this remake story. That actually came out last week. We could have mentioned it on last week's show, but I just completely missed it.
Yeah, sometimes we're not good at reading.
Yeah.
But it's still technically news.
But yeah, I wanted to mention that because I love the idea of those old ones coming up. We have one more story coming up, and I think this is one of the coolest goddamn things I have heard this year so far.
This is pretty cool.
This ranks up there with the story of Metallica getting muted during BlizzCon for me. If we would like to do a collection of our favorite stories of this year, this is already up there alongside that.
All right, in a story from Video Games Chronicle, Ghost of Tsushima devs to be made permanent ambassadors of the real island. This is pretty neat. Game director Nate Fox and creative director Jason Connell will become permanent tourism ambassadors of the city of Tsushima in Nagasaki, the island announced this week. The ceremony will be held digitally due to travel restrictions, and the pair will be presented with the award and a letter of appreciation. To mark the occasion, the city said it will collaborate with Sony Interactive Entertainment to set up a new tourism campaign based on the video game, which is designed to encourage fans to learn more about the island and its key landmarks. Just as an aside, if you remember not too long ago, a bunch of game players got together and helped fund the resurrection of an old shrine on the island as well.
Yes, it got a lot of money, significantly more than they were asking for.
Yeah. Continuing with the article, in a statement, Tsushima Mayor I can't say that, Hitaka Katsu, close, explained why the
Hitakatsu.
Thank you. Explained why the pair have been awarded with the honor. Fox and Connell spread the name and history of Tsushima to the whole world in such a wonderful way. Even a lot of Japanese people do not know the history of the Genko period. When it comes to the world, the name and location of Tsushima is literally unknown, so I cannot thank them enough for telling our story with such phenomenal graphics and profound stories. The mayor went on to explain that while the award has been given to notable Japanese people in the past, this is the first time it has been awarded to someone who has spread the name and history of Tsushima through their works.
This is so goddamn cool.
Right?
When this game came out, I actually kind of started doing a little bit of a, I don't want to say a deep dive because it kind of makes you think I might have done more research than I actually did on it. But I started looking into what this little island is. And it is I kind of want to visit this place. It's cool. This little tiny island. There's only one major city on it. I think they limit the number of people that can immigrate there every year. I'm not positive on that. I have to double take a look to make sure I was right on that. But it's cool to see a video game bring such attention to this place that is so full of history and that so many people were like, holy shit, this sounds great. I want to look into this island here. And that the island not only recognizes it, but is embracing it. So, I hope that the people living in Tsushima don't lose what they've got going on for them, and that this is only positive for them.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Anything else you want to add there, David, or is that going to do it for the news?
I think that's about it.
All right. Well, I got no nice transition. Let's go ahead and move on right into new releases, David.
New releases. Well,
I
just a couple things coming
For
up
some
this week.
reason, my brain tuned off. That was the end of the news. I need to think of something ham-fisted way to transition into what to play this week.
That's when you just
Kinda,
yell segue.
yeah, I'm just like looking at you, expecting you to say
smoke
something,
bomb.
and then I realize I normally transition into it. I was like, shit,
Yeah,
I forgot.
I was like, wait, we mistimed this. Anyway.
Yeah.
Video games coming out this week. Stronghold Warlords hits PC. This is a real-time tactics city builder from Firefly Studios, who's made a bunch of these Stronghold games. They made like Crusader and a couple other things. I don't know if you've played any of those games, but they're castle sim style tactics games. Command AI warlords across the battlefield as you build a castle economy and new gunpowder-fueled siege engines.
All right, so I was given a code to play this, so thank you very much to PR to do for that. I played this yesterday. I love the Stronghold franchise. I did not play Crusader, but I did play Stronghold 1 and 3, and I really enjoyed them for what they were back 10, 15, 20 years ago, however long it was they came out. This new one plays just like them. Just like a game from 20 years ago.
Oof.
Including like the bad AI, in fact, I feel like the AI is actually worse in Stronghold Warlords than it was in any of the previous Stronghold games. That was my biggest problem with it. There's no like time compression, so if at least that I was able to find. If it was in there, I did not see it. The tutorial did not tell me about it. So there are some missions where it's like harvest 600 wood. So I'm like waiting. I have my economy up. No one can fuck with me. And I just have to sit there and wait for like 25 minutes. My guys harvest the rest of this wood.
Oh, dang, that sucks.
I want to really enjoy Stronghold Warlords, but
yeah, you gotta be able to fast forward in a game like that.
Furthermore, the setting is wrong. I appreciate them taking it from Middle Europe to East Asia, so it's like Japan, China, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that franchise is very much medieval castles, and it felt weird being in Japan or China and Vietnam. It just felt tonally off.
Interesting.
I can't explain why, but that's just a personal preference. But the mechanical side of things, that game's AI is busted all to hell. And that is very, very unfortunate.
Maybe wait. Hopefully they get some patches going. We'll see what happens.
I was technically playing it pre-release, so
yeah. So maybe they got a day 1, maybe they got a day 0, although maybe not. Who knows?
It was only yesterday though too. So
yeah. Also out this week, Apex Legends. You ever heard of that game?
No. Tell me what Apex Legends is, David.
It's the game that's killed the Titanfall franchise. And it is coming to Switch.
I knew I hated it.
Yeah. Apex Legend is the Battle Royale game from Respawn Entertainment, who did make Titanfall 1 and 2. Titanfall 2 is amazing. You should definitely play it. If you haven't, I will recommend that over playing Apex Legends on Switch because I'm an asshole. But that being said, Apex Legends is a very fun Battle Royale if that is your kind of thing.
I do think it's still the best Battle Royale game out there.
It really showcases how good the gunplay was from the Titanfall games.
Yeah. I do think, I know that our group specifically has focused on Call of Duty Warzone. I still think I like playing Apex Legends better.
I think it's more fun.
Yeah. I do absolutely think Apex Legends is more fun. Because that's that Respawn gameplay, though.
Yep. Which is just old school Infinity Ward.
But, as we were talking about earlier, I'd be very curious to know how this game plays on Switch.
Probably fine. I mean, everything's on Switch now. They're just making it work. It's just happening. Plus, Epic had to, or EA had to show up. Because, Fortnite's already on Switch, so...
I guess.
There you go.
I guess.
Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game 4, hits the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC this week. This is Motorcycles in the Dirt, sponsored by Monster, the energy drink. There's been 4 of these. Very much that, extreme sports vibe. It is a sim racing game taking place in different outdoor venues with, off-road motorcycles. People that like it. The people that don't probably aren't going to be convinced by me telling them that it's out. Cyanide and Happiness.
Before you move on.
Yes.
You know what I absolutely hate about that title? is that
Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game for?
is that with a company called Monster, you would think that they were probably like hip and cool and everything like that, but this is the most corporate, generic ass fucking title I've ever seen in a video game.
That's horrible.
At least I'm fine if you want to make sure that you have Monster Energy in there, Monster Energy Supercross, but just call it Monster Energy Supercross 4.
Right?
What is this official video game
for?
crap
So dumb.
added in there? That's as
So
bad as when the game for Peter Jackson's King Kong came out, and it was called Peter Jackson's King Kong the Movie, the game.
Street Fighter the movie, the game.
Why? God damn it. Now, with some of that stuff, it could be like a licensing thing that they have to say the movie, the game, because you have to have like the entire title and then add the game.
Most likely because since the game is being put out at least partially on Monster Energy's dime, that it has to go through Monster Energy's corporate team, which means it also has to go through their marketing team. So the way things are phrased when it gets to marketing lingo is very, very specific. So they have to have this information up front, and it has to be very on point. And while it works great on flyers and like billboards, it doesn't necessarily translate to good video game names.
This is just lazy to me. Because I get they have to touch on certain things and all that good stuff, but
I
there
think you
has
get it.
to be.
It's just like super corporate, and no one with eyes bothered to look at it before they printed it.
Yes, this is that machine doing what the machine is going to do. This is as written by AI soap opera shit that you see on like Twitter and stuff.
No, that shit's hilarious. I bought that book.
We made the bot watch 80 hours of Batman the Animated Series, and here's the script.
So it's so good.
All right. Anyways, I had to comment on that, because if we're going to give Square Enix shit about their nonsensical games, I'm going to give these guys shit for their most boring generic ass name.
That's fair. Both sides of the spectrum. Let's go.
Yep.
Also out this week, Cyanide and Happiness Freakpocalypse hits Switch, PC, and Mac. This is a casual point-and-click adventure game filled with the dark humor, drama, and all the weirdness you've grown to love and or dread over the years from these Cyanide and Happiness folks. If you've never heard of them, they're a webcomic series that have a very particular set of humor, and they also have that card game that came out a while ago that's pretty fun.
I just know
years ago.
Excuse me. I just know nothing about them.
Okay. They've got some funny jokes.
I'm sure they do.
There you go. And last but not least, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, is releasing on PS5, Xbox Series X/S, and Switch this week. I would say PS4 and Xbox One, but it already came out on those consoles in November. So this is just the it's coming out again, right? This is the new Crash Bandicoot that people say is a very good homage to the old games. You take control of 5 different characters, multiple levels. You're still collecting fruit, jumping over hat. It's a 3D platformer. There's 2 different gauge modes. There's a retro mode, which has limited lives. And there's a modern mode, which replaces the lives with a death counter that just keep track of how many times you die each level.
That Meat Boy feeling right there.
Mm-hmm.
David, this reminds me, it's not Crash Bandicoot, but I kind of consider it kind of in the same wheelhouse. If you're looking for a free game and you own PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, it could be one or the other or both. I can't remember which. But Ratchet & Clank, the newest one, is free on either PS4, PS5, or both, and you don't have to have a PlayStation Plus account for it. It's just being given away for free.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, shit, I'll hella get that. I loved Ratchet & Clank
Yeah,
back
I can't remember if it's on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 or both, but I believe for this entire month it is currently being given away for free. So if you're looking for just something, it's part of their play at home initiative.
That's cool. Go those guys.
Something to consider. They do have that new Ratchet & Clank coming up soon. The Rift Apart, I believe. Where you're going through different dimensions. But anyways, that does it for new releases, and that does it for the show as well. This has been GamePoints episode 255, and thank you all for showing up. We do stream live here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here at twitch.tv/GamePoints. If you want to be part of the show, like so many of you did, Salty Frank, Stuffy Twitchy, Imperial Dev, and to everyone else who happens to be lurking. If you can't join us live, however, you can watch old episodes of the show over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC. Regardless of where you watch the show and you want to support it, you know what streamers want. Follows and notifications turned on, like, subscribe. If you're sitting on that Amazon Prime freebie sub on Twitch, I'd appreciate it here. But if you don't use it here, give it a good home somewhere. You can join with Discord, link provided down below. You can follow the show over at GamePoints PC on Twitter, myself, Stephen Brown, at CapitalistPig21, or David there at PalsLife_Satori. This has been GamePoints, and until next time, stay safe, and we'll be seeing you.